Paul Budde, independent IT analyst, spoke to business reporter Steph Nash earlier today. Paul was asked first how this incident might impact CrowdStrike's credibility.
I think in general that won't be too bad. There will be, of course, some lashback to the whole situation. I think the difference will be that businesses are going to be shocked and say, oh my God, we can't just have all our eggs in one basket. So what you will see happening is that customers are start looking for other companies as well, either to split some of their business or to diversify. So I think that will be an effect that of course will hit CrowdStrike. It will not own the only company anymore. There will be more companies that are going to be in that market because of the fact that you need to diversify in order to avoid these sort of events happening.
And how did we get here? How did we get to this all-in-one basket situation? All these big companies, they're all so heavily exposed to one company when things go wrong.
Yeah, what we've seen basically over the last 20, 30 years, is that our economic system favors large companies because, then you can actually offer services for lower prices. So what you've seen is a concentration of these sort of services into a small number and basically global players. So not just in Australia, whatever. No, the whole shift has been from relying on local suppliers, national suppliers, all the way to the global suppliers. And there are only a handful of them. And of course, the prices are fantastic. The services are great. And that's why we've seen this gravitation to that area. On top of that, we've seen over the last decade the move to cloud service that could save companies something like 30% in their IT costs. So all of that leads to the situation that we now have a lot of our services in the clouds, which is only handled by a handful of companies. If something goes wrong, you get disasters like we've seen yesterday.
And so the commercial disruption caused by this incident, do you think that some of CrowdStrike's larger customers might be seeking some sort of compensation?
Yeah, I've thought about that, Steph. But in reality, if you look at the global effect of this area, I mean, let's say there would be compensation, the company would go broke within a day. Yeah. I mean, if you look at all the airline delays and people that have to be rebooked, only look at that. Yeah, the costs are enormous if you looked at an economic costs. So I think there will be some sort of a reaction to that. There will be, the lawyers will look at the contracts they have with CrowdStrike and start looking at what they can ask for. But I think there will be a limitation. The effects of this are so enormous that it's nearly impossible for anybody to start thinking about compensation, financial compensation, I mean.
The ACCC has also said the outage may have left a lot of entities vulnerable to cyber attacks or, malware. Do you think that could be a serious problem?
Yeah. The reality is, of course, that it happened totally unexpected and it was fixed rather quickly. So that's an advantage that, the people that would hack or, would have criminal ideas, they didn't have the time to prepare for this. So that I think is a positive. What you see happening already, and we've seen warnings all over the place, is that you get people that are calling organizations and say, we can solve your problem, give us your details and we set it up again for you. So that sort of scams are happening. But as the problems are mainly with large companies, these companies are better prepared for these sort of incidents rather than individuals who could easily be lured into, listening to somebody who tries to hack into your computer. So, in all, I think it won't be that problem won't be as big as it would have been if it would be planned and like a criminal or cyber attack or something like that.
And so critical infrastructure, though, like our energy grid, hospitals, telcos, our stock exchange, a lot of that was unimpacted. Why is that, Paul?
I think that some companies definitely have learned from the past. We had this Optus event last year, November. We had Telstra events. So the companies, organizations have seen, oh my God, we have to be careful with our ICT system. Over the last decades, of course, it's become critical. It's critical infrastructure. It's not just a nice add-on. Your company depends totally on its ICT infrastructure. So the clever companies have started looking at how can we actually prevent this from happening. That could be internally, so that they have system that when something like that happens, they have a system in place that stops it. It could be that they, as I mentioned before, have created some diversity within their organization and can therefore bypass if somebody has a problem, like a CrowdStrike or an Optus or whatever. If you can actually have alternatives in place. The trouble, of course, is that all costs extra money. And that is a problem that a lot of companies are facing. Yeah, that particularly in our economic system, where you want next profits and your cost cuttings and things like that. All of these are important, and that actually is contradicts the problems that we see happening, where you have to invest far more money into resilience. And that is a problem, and some companies, have been slacking that. I think an event like this will force more and more companies to start looking at resilience and diversity.
Yeah, and just lastly on what you're just saying, someone we've spoken to in the past on this program, Michael Murphy, who's at Fortinet, he's told us in interviews that this push to the cloud where, companies become reliant on these automated systems because it's cheaper, because it's more efficient, and lose people that operate things more manually, that could be a really negative thing. So what's your view on that?
You can't put the genie back in the box. That's the problem. We are in this technology environment where the technology is greatly helping us in being more efficient, effective. I think that what, for example, the next step will be with artificial intelligence, where we are able to make decisions better and quicker. And let's say this problem that happened at CrowdStrike, it could well be that if you have an IE system linked to, for example, that software update and things like that, that it would have prevented this from happening. So I think with new technologies like artificial intelligence, we can actually operate better, faster, quicker, and make better decisions. And that would be the way forward. I don't think we can put the genie back in the bottle. That's impossible. We are in this situation. On top of that, as I mentioned before, yes, in the cloud, there are many cloud operators. So don't go to one cloud operator. Don't go to one hardware operator. Don't go to one telecommunications company. So these are the sort of things that companies will have to start considering in moving forward and trying to avoid this from. It will happen again. We will talk again, Steph. I'm 100% sure about that. Yeah. But are we then better prepared the next time when something like this happens? Who knows?
I look forward to it. Paul Budde, many thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Steph.